Hello and welcome. You are watching South Asia Diary with me, Mariam Wardak. Our top story today is from Afghanistan, where the Taliban have carried out their first public execution since they captured power last year. The return of floggings and public execution has left the entire world shocked, alarmed, and worried about the future of the Afghan people under the Taliban regime. We'll get you that story in just a bit, but first, let's take a look at the stories that are making headlines this week.
A public execution in Afghanistan sends shockwaves through the world. Is the Taliban back to its old ways? Landslide win for India's ruling party in PM Narendra Modi's home state Gujarat. The BJP sets a new electoral record. Former Pakistan Prime Minister Imran Khan targets ex-Army Chief General Bajwa, even as the poll panel moves to remove him as PTI chairman. Political turmoil in Bangladesh amid violent clashes between the largest opposition party and the police. Demands for Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina to resign grow.
In a grim and chilling reminder of the 1990s, the Taliban in Afghanistan have carried out their first public execution since they took over Kabul last year, an act that has left the international community horrified and attracted global condemnation. Here's the full report.
It was a spine-chilling moment that brought back horrifying memories of the Taliban's reign of terror in the 1990s. Last week, the Taliban carried out their first public execution since seizing power in Afghanistan in 2021. A man called Tajmir was executed in the Farah province for allegedly killing another man 5 years ago in full public view. Tajmir was shot 3 times by the father of the man he was accused of killing. Witnessing the medieval act were more than a dozen senior Taliban officials, including the acting Interior Minister, the acting Deputy Prime Minister, Afghanistan's Chief Justice, acting Foreign Minister, and acting Education Minister. The United States has termed the Taliban's public execution despicable, saying it shows a return to the Islamist group's dark past.
We've seen the reports that the Taliban has ordered judges to impose their interpretation of Sharia law. That includes public executions. We've seen despicable videos that have circulated online in recent days regarding some of these tactics. This indicates to us that the Taliban seek a return to their regressive and abusive practices of the 1990s.
The Taliban were quick to justify the heinous act, arguing that retributive justice is the right of the victim's family. The execution was announced just as the US pointsman on Afghanistan met with a Taliban delegation and raised the issue of the deteriorating human rights situation. The public execution has drawn sharp criticism from world leaders. UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres expressed deep concern. The UN mission in Afghanistan and UN Human Rights Office condemned the execution and called on the Taliban to declare an immediate moratorium on the death penalty.
Amnesty International has been astonished and it has been horrifying to us to see that the Taliban has resumed not only public lashings, but also they have started, public executions, in addition to all other atrocities.
But it's not just the execution. In the recent past, there have been multiple instances indicating the Taliban's regression to its medieval brutality, which was on regular display during its previous rule between 1996 and 2001. Public lashings and executions by stoning were the order of the day back then. Last month, Taliban Supreme Leader Haibatullah Akhundzada ordered judges to fully enforce all aspects of Sharia or the Islamic law. These include public executions, stonings, floggings, and the amputation of limbs of those accused of theft. On the day of the public execution, at least 27 Afghans were lashed in public as punishment for alleged adultery, theft, and drug offences. The Taliban have always reserved their worst forms of cruelty and barbarism for the Afghan women and girls who have been deprived of education since the Taliban swept back into power. In September this year, the Islamist regime sacked the education minister for being in favour of secondary education for girls. A few months earlier, they had barred girls above the 6th grade from going to school. No foreign state has officially recognized the Taliban government that took over last year when the US and NATO troops withdrew from Afghanistan. And the latest instances of the cruel treatment being meted out to the Afghan people only proves the hollowness of the claims some had made about a reformed Taliban returning to power. As the Taliban focus on enforcing the Sharia law in Afghanistan, scores of terror attacks and killings on the Taliban's watch are going unpunished. This even as the Afghan people descend into abject poverty and hunger on a scale not seen in decades. South Asia Diary, WION, World is One.
Let's now shift our focus to India. The ruling party, the BJP, has made history by winning its 7th consecutive term. In Prime Minister Modi's home state of Gujarat, the party has broken all previous records by winning the most seats. In the state's electoral history, however, the hill state of Himachal Pradesh and in India's capital Delhi, which recently had its civic body polls, it was a different story for the ruling party. What do these election results mean for India? Here's a report.
It's a historic win, one for the record books. India's ruling party, the Bharatiya Janata Party, has done what no other political party has managed to do in the state of Gujarat. Winning a 7th consecutive term with the highest victory margin in the electoral history of the state. While the BJP's win in its bastion, Gujarat, was never in doubt, it is the scale of the win that has left even the BJP's most loyal supporters stunned. The party picked up 156 of the 182 seats in the state assembly after 27 consecutive years in power. The BJP has not lost a single assembly election in Gujarat since 1995. More than anything, it was a prestige battle for the BJP, as Gujarat is the home state of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. He was Gujarat's chief minister for 13 years before he rose to India's highest political office in 2014. The historic win is being seen by political observers as a big boost for the ruling party ahead of the general elections in 2024. Prime Minister Modi thanked the people of Gujarat for showing faith in his party.
और गुजरात की जनता ने तो रिकॉर्ड तोड़ने में भी रिकॉर्ड कर दिया। उसने गुजरात की स्थापना से लेकर के अब तक सारे रिकॉर्ड तोड़ दिए। गुजरात के इतिहास का सबसे प्रचंड जनादेश भाजपा को देकर गुजरात के लोगों ने नया इतिहास बना दिया है। लोगों ने जाति, वर्ग, समुदाय और हर तरह के विभाजन से ऊपर उठकर भाजपा को वोट दिया है।
While it was a record-breaking win for the BJP in Gujarat, for India's principal opposition party, the Congress, it was the worst ever defeat in the state, with the party being reduced to a dismal 17 seats. With this lackluster performance, the Congress is likely to lose even the leader of opposition position in the new assembly. But it was not all gloom and doom for India's Grand Old Party, as it managed to wrest the hill state of Himachal Pradesh from the BJP, claiming 40 seats in the 68-member state assembly. The BJP won 25 seats. A much-needed win for the revival of a party which is currently staring at an existential crisis. Having been battered by a deluge of humiliating electoral losses since Modi's ascent to power at the centre in 2014. Both Himachal Pradesh and Gujarat saw a triangular contest this time, with India's youngest party, the Aam Aadmi Party, making inroads and trying to project itself as an alternative to both the BJP and the Congress. Though AAP managed to win only 5 seats in Gujarat and drew a blank in Himachal, its leaders thanked the voters, as it has now gained the status of a national party. AAP, which campaigned aggressively, is already laying claim to the leadership of India's opposition on the road to the 2024 national elections. And it was a good week for the fledgling party too. AAP, which was already the ruling party in India's capital, New Delhi, has ended the BJP's 15-year reign over the city's civic body. AAP won 134 seats out of 250 in the Municipal Corporation of Delhi polls. The BJP ended up with 104 seats.
Thanks to the people of Delhi for this grand victory, and many congratulations to all. Now all of us together have to make Delhi clean and beautiful.
The next parliamentary election in India is less than 18 months away, and with these high-stakes state contests, the battle lines seem to have been clearly drawn, and the battle for 2024 has well and truly begun. South Asia Diary. WION, World is One.
There is no end to political turmoil in Pakistan, and contributing to it is no small measure is Prime Minister Imran Khan. Even after calling off his protest march to Islamabad, Khan continues to train his guns not only on the government but also on former Army Chief General Qamar Bajwa. But now the PTI chief faces challenge of his own.
जैसे कि आप जानते होंगे कि अनकरीब मैं अपनी 44 साल मिलिट्री सर्विस से रिटायर हो रहा हूं.
If former Pakistan Army Chief General Qamar Javed Bajwa had thought that retirement would give him relief from the barrage of political missiles he has been facing, he had another thing coming. Bajwa continues to be in the line of fire, with former Prime Minister Imran Khan now accusing him of playing a double game with his government and conspiring with Nawaz Sharif to oust him from power. Claiming he has intelligence inputs to back the allegations, Khan says, in hindsight, extending the former army chief's tenure in 2019 was a big mistake.
General Bajwa was playing a double game, and I discovered later that even PTI's members were being given different messages. I thought we were both working to save the country. Bajwa conspired with Nawaz Sharif to topple the government.
Once propped up and catapulted to power by the all-powerful Pakistan Army, as per population perception, Imran Khan in recent months has come out all guns blazing, attacking both the Shahbaz Sharif government and the army in speech after speech, rally after rally. The Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf chief recently even described his relationship with the army as a bad romance. Though now, analysts say Khan may have shifted the focus of his attacks from the military establishment to individuals. Only recently, Imran Khan pointedly accused Prime Minister Shahbaz Sharif, Interior Minister Rana Sanullah Khan, and senior army officer General Faisal Nasir of being the architects of the assassination attempt on him. Though he offered no evidence, the allegations were dismissed by the Pakistan government as a pack of lies.
So these three guys
We want their resignation because there can be no investigation if the Prime Minister, the Interior Minister, and this ISI guy, Faisal, Major General Faisal, if these three are involved, there can be no independent investigation.
The 70-year-old cricketer turned politician has been demanding an early election since his ouster from office in April this year by a no-confidence vote in Parliament led by a united opposition. Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif, who replaced Khan, has rejected the demand for snap polls and maintains that the election will be held as scheduled in late 2023. Khan's charge is that his removal was unlawful and a conspiracy by his political opponents, orchestrated by the United States. Both Washington and Shehbaz Sharif have rubbished the allegation.
I want a transparent election, and my country's people will decide in this transparent election who they want to lead this country. Not Washington, not America, not anyone else. Let the nation decide.
Imran Khan has now threatened to dissolve the assemblies in two provinces of Punjab and Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, which are ruled by his party and coalition partners. Either sit with us and talk about when the next elections should be held, or else we will dissolve the assemblies. That is Khan's latest salvo at the government. Many see this as a climb down of sorts, as Khan had earlier flatly refused to negotiate with the government, labeling it a corrupt political elite. The dissolution of the two provincial assemblies could trigger a constitutional crisis in a country already reeling under political and economic instability. The government has said it would hold elections in the two provinces if Khan decided to dissolve the assemblies. But Imran Khan, who has been trying to paint the government into a corner, seems to have some challenges of his own to deal with. Pakistan's Election Commission has initiated the process to remove Khan from the post of PTI chief. Following his disqualification in the Toshakhana case, Khan was found guilty of buying gifts, including an expensive Graf wristwatch he had received as the Prime Minister at a discounted price from the State Depository and selling them for profit. While political uncertainty in Pakistan continues, what's almost certain is that Imran Khan, who claims to enjoy enormous popular support of the people, will keep up the pressure on the Shehbaz Sharif government and continue to be a headache for many powerful figures in the country. South Asia Bureau, WION World is One.
Last week, Bangladesh's capital Dhaka witnessed clashes between activists of the country's largest opposition party, the BNP, and the police. One party worker was killed and many others were injured in the clashes. Several Western governments and even United Nations have expressed concerns over the violence. There have been repeated protests in Bangladesh recent months over power cuts and fuel price hikes, and now their demands for a fresh election.
Bangladesh is in political turmoil. Wednesday saw violent clashes between supporters of the country's largest opposition party, the Bangladesh Nationalist Party, and the police. One party worker was killed and dozens of others wounded as the police used rubber bullets and tear gas to disperse the protesters who had gathered in front of the BNP's central office in the capital Dhaka. The security forces then stormed the party headquarters. The BNP was preparing for a massive rally scheduled for the 10th of December when the violence broke out. The two top BNP leaders were arrested following the clashes. The party says thousands of its workers and supporters were detained by the police in a bid to scuttle the rally. But none of that deterred party workers as tens of thousands of them descended on Dhaka on Saturday to protest against the government of Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina and demand fresh elections. And in an attempt to pressurize the government, all 7 BNP members of parliament resigned the same day.
I come from Chittagong along with a huge number of our supporters to join the rally to protest against the Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. She and her government are torturing our supporters all over the country, and today thousands of us have gathered here against her. I believe her autocratic government will fall very soon.
Recent months have witnessed repeated protests across Bangladesh against massive power cuts, soaring fuel prices and rising cost of living. The demonstrators blame Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina for the crisis and are demanding that she step down to pave way for new elections under a caretaker government. Hasina and her ruling party, the Awami League, have rejected the opposition's demand, saying a caretaker government goes against the spirit of the country's constitution. General elections are not due in Bangladesh until the end of 2023. The Awami League returned to power in 2018 for the 3rd consecutive time. The opposition has accused them of capturing power through vote rigging and intimidation. At least 15 Western governments and the United Nations have expressed concern over the political climate in Bangladesh. They issued a joint statement last week calling for the government to allow peaceful protests and free and fair elections. Amnesty International condemned Wednesday's violence, saying it showed the authorities had little regard for the sanctity of human life, and that it was meant to send a chilling message to the protesters. The White House has called on the government of Bangladesh to fully investigate the violence and respect the right of the citizens to protest peacefully without the threat of intimidation. Politics in Bangladesh has been deeply polarized for decades, with Sheikh Hasina and her arch-rival Khaleda Zia being the most dominant political figures in a country which, despite being a parliamentary democracy, has a violent history of coups and counter-coups.
That's all we have for you on this episode of South Asia Diary. We'll be back next week with a brand new lineup of stories. Until then, stay safe. I am Mariam Wardak and you are watching WION The World is One.